Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Hope this is actually working. Seems like the internet connection right now is a little slow in my basement studio. We're pretty far away from the modem, so if it doesn't work, we will cancel this plan and do it another time. But in the meantime, I hope all is well, and I'm not sure. There we go. Say hello. Hope you're doing fantastically well. We have a whole bunch of goodies today, but today's session is primarily geared for anybody who's dug into our mini lesson series to ask more detailed questions about perhaps one of those mini lessons. We have, I think, almost 60 online, and our playlist on the YouTube channel is actually well over 60 on just the mini lessons. So I hope you take some time to enjoy those during most likely what we're doing, which is hanging out at home and practicing and having fun. Please put your comments in here. I have one of my employees at the shop moderating this, so if I miss your comment, he will chime in as well. But I hope everybody's having a good day, staying safe, having fun in your practicing. I know I am, actually. It's one of the silver linings of this entire experience is the fact that I get to actually spend some time on that great trumpet. In fact, I've got a fair amount of nice trumpets here, but I'm actually pretty much only playing this trumpet right now. So please post your questions, post your comments. If you can hear me okay, let's say yes, give me a thumbs up. But really this time is for you. Please take advantage of that. Otherwise, I'll have to do some juggling. So one of the things that I am doing that I'm really enjoying, by the way, is playing this instrument again, the piccolo trumpet. And this is my Scherzer piccolo, which I absolutely love. So I'm actually starting to dig a little bit deeper into learning how to play this piccolo trumpet again, which is pretty awesome. As I drop the thing. Hello, welcome. Thanks for your comment. And please, this is your time. I prefer not to talk about shop things. We'll do another live stream in regards to that. This is more about the mini lesson series that we offer online on our YouTube channel. Hopefully Josh, who's moderating, hi Josh, will post the link to our playlist in there, or at least the link to our channel where you can find some of our mini lessons. So hello, welcome, hello to my friends in Brazil. I hope everything is well, and I hope you are staying safe. It's important to be in home, and the great thing is if you got one of those trumpets like I do, you can hang and practice and have fun and stay motivated. But I'm gonna have a little sip of tea, and in the meantime, please ask your questions about any one of the mini lessons, or if you have a general question or a suggestion for a future mini lesson, this is a great opportunity to post them here on the comments. Thanks. Hey Dennis, how are you? I hope you are well. Let me grab a sip of my green tea here. Oh, that's very good. And one thing I recommend to anybody who's out there is to keep their trumpets as clean as possible. I'm actually going to do a lesson on how to clean your trumpet in the shower. It sounds silly, but that's how I learned when I was a kid. But I'm going to actually spray my trumpet mouthpiece with some freshening and disinfectant spray. And I recommend doing that every day, if not every practice session. Of course, it's a really good thing for you to do. This stuff actually smells really good. They were actually across the booth from our TMEA booth, so they were very nice to give us a thing of that sanitizer. But again, this is your time. Please ask questions, and especially questions about our mini lessons series. Now, I have attached I had that little intro bumper video. I also have another video. However, I'm not sure that the internet connectivity speed will be strong enough for us to watch it. But Korea, thank you so much. Hope you are staying safe. Please ask your questions. Ask any questions that you might have about our mini lesson series. And again, if you missed I'll give you just a little synopsis of what the shop is doing currently. While we can't get to the shop, there's a stay-at-home order here in Kansas City, and rightfully so. Kyle, my amazing shop manager, he has all of our in-stock ACB mouthpieces at his house, so he can actually ship mouthpieces. And I have maybe 20 or 30 trumpets here as well. We can ship them. I'm not playing them, and that's a big thing. I want to keep them as clean as possible, and we will sanitize before we ship any orders from either Kyle's place or mine. Our phones are always open, and all of my staff is telecommuting right now. So if you have questions about any particular gear, now is a good opportunity for you to dig in and ask. So no flugelhorn here today, sorry, so we're not going to play. And this is not a playing video per se, this is more of a educational talking video about our mini lesson series, but I appreciate it. My practice routine, and funny you asked that, Jeremy, I hope you are well. My practice routine is pretty simple. I do on alternating days, day A or B, depending on what the day is. I do stamp or Cichowicz. Now the stamp would be as follows, just the basic warm-up. I would maybe elaborate down to pedal C, up to high C. That's day A. That's the first thing I play. The day B is the Cichowicz flow studies. But those are the things that get me invigorated and warmed up. Right after that, I do Clarke's 1 through 5, all of them. And that's the Clarke 1, the Clarke 2, which is my desert island exercise, and things like that. Clarke 3, the arpeggios, things like that. I sell Austin custom brass mouthpieces, so and again, I'm not talking shop here. This is more of a mini lesson series here. So I have no opinion of Monat mouthpieces. I own Austin custom brass. But after I get done Clarke's 1 through 5, Jeremy, I then do Arban, page 20 through 33, and those are the exercises like, hold on, like this. That stuff. Or the stuff. So, anywho, after I get done that's when I start digging into my jazz practicing. And these are maybe in different sections of the time of day as well. They could be like the first part, which mostly the first part of my day is warm up and Clarke, and then I take a break. The next thing is the Arbans. Then after that, I take a break, and then I do my jazz practicing, and that changes from day to day. I've recently implemented learning more etudes. Of course, I have the time now. Brandt, Charlier, things of that sort. And I've been doing a lot of transcribing, and I've also started relearning tunes. It's been really fun. I wanted to learn this tune, Humpty Dumpty, which is a Chick Corea tune, and perhaps maybe later on in this session I'll talk about some of the ways that I've approached learning that tune. But in the meantime, that's like a really short version of how I'm practicing. Included in that time of the day, I will definitely insert playing the piccolo trumpet a few times a day as well. Thank you, Josh, for posting that video link to the mini lessons. There's a lot of information there. I highly encourage you all, it's all free, to dig into those lessons. Speaking of that, people have been emailing me asking me about taking Skype lessons during this current situation. And my answer to that is, while I would love to do that, there's so many musicians that I know who are really, really, really struggling. I would encourage you to reach out to them to support them, because at least in the current time period, we have a little bit of income from our shop coming in. So, I do both. I use both of the Scott Belk books on flexibility. Yes, I do that. That's after the Arbans, and it depends on how long I want to do them. But it's not too long. It's probably between 10 and 15 minutes a day maximum. But I am, working on them. Great question. Great question. Dennis, can you elaborate a little bit more on your question? Let me see if I can. Yes, I use the Scott Belk book. Both of them, actually. They're fantastic. But I also do things out of the Flexus book, and I do the Arban's exercises on slurring as well. And then, you always got to do what I call the Ryan Kisor challenge. Hold on. Man, if you watch those videos, he's fast, super fast. So hold on, I'm going to turn my talking mic back up a little bit. But I would love to elaborate a little bit more about my improvisational routine. But one of the things that I love to do, and I know Josh will post the link, is there's I think it's mini lesson 4 or 5. It's very early on into our mini lesson series. I talk about chordal approaches. And if you think about this, if you want to just spend some very high quality time in your practice room, let's think about it this way. Yes, awesome. Thank you, Josh. If you think about chords and the structure of chords, there's 12 major keys, 12 keys. We'll just say, let's get major out of there. There's 12 keys. There's basically 12 basic chord types between the major, minor, dominants, diminished, augmented, sus, and the like. There's 4 chord tones, and utilizing single and double chromatic approaches, you can get to a note 12 different ways. So do your multiplication there. There's a lot of examples to get to. I'm going to simplify that and just thank you, Josh. Again, that is mini lesson 4, which he just posted on the comments, is gold. It really is a fantastic. And yes, email Josh. He'll send you the PDF of what I describe in the lesson. But basically, I will give you a little example here. If I'm playing, let's say I'm playing a dominant 7th chord. Let me turn my mic down. I like to do, hopefully you can hear me even with my mic down a little bit. I like to do an octave and a 7th for this sort of approach. Now, I can approach each one of those chord notes, the 1, the 3, the 5, or the 7. Now, let's just use a double chromatic approach from above and below to get to the root, or in this case, F. So instead of just going, which you're never really going to play a solo like that. If I do that approach, which I'm using a double chromatic from above and a double from below, it will sound like this. So you hear that? So instead of just going, I'm going to go. Now you could simplify that. You could just do a single from below. Things like that. Or you could do, 3, 5, and 7. So like if I approached with the double double, I call it double from above and double from below, and I go to the fifth of the chord. So it sounds less and less like a chord, you know, like literally arpeggio, although you are arpeggiating, but it sounds more linear, which is fantastic. And what you're trying to do is build the inroads. So if time is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you don't just get to the beat 1 of the second bar and hit the chord tone that you're going for. So 1, 2. All those things that I'm doing, and it sounds very much like bebop, all those things that I'm doing are little, I call it musical cartilage, allowing me to move in and out. But the approach exercise is absolutely fantastic to do that and to take your time by doing that. It does take time. It doesn't just happen overnight. And I remember getting this lesson the first time from my teacher, the late, great Charlie Benakis. And he was like, oh yeah, you just do it and you'll be fine. And I was like, man, I waited 2 years to take lessons with this guy. And he gives me this. I go home, I open my case, and I can't play it. So it's fantastic. I highly recommend it, especially if you do like keys, it will stretch your range. So if I'm doing like let's say double chromatic approach to the root again, and I'm going to, in the key of F sharp, you're going up and you're playing and you're stretching your range. So it's not just you're playing in one octave. I think it's big for any improvising trumpet player to get themselves out of just playing in a singular octave. Although, yeah, I mean, you can make incredible music in a single octave, but you're trying to eliminate the hindrance of this instrument, which is not fun to play multiple octaves. So you're trying to stretch your range to the point where it's less range versus more line. I don't know if that makes sense. And Dennis, that was probably an elongated response to your question, but that's a great question, and I love more questions like that. So that's just one aspect of my improvisational routine. Another thing I love to do, and I'm going to do actually I have a mini lesson on this, Josh. You might have to look a little bit. It's about taking similar shapes and changing the inner workings of each note. Well, you got to learn vocabulary before you think about transferring it into your solo. So it's a little bit of cart before the horse. You don't remember how you learned how to talk. You don't. But nowadays, you don't really think about the process of talking. So in this case, you have to build vocabulary before you implement vocabulary. One of the ways is to do things like this chordal approach, so you actually have some fundamental abilities on approaching a note. Josh, what I'm talking about on this mini lesson, hopefully you can find it. I did some about taking a similar shape and changing it depending on the chordal type. So like, for instance, if I have a similar line like this, that's 9, 3, 9, 7, root, things like that. If I go to a dominant chord, I have to change. There's an obvious change. I can't play the B natural, although you can. It's the 15 of the chord. Now, the cool thing about dominant, if you know, you can also put a flat 9 in. Right? So you can go. Or you can do a sharp 9. Like things like that. So there's a huge thing. There is a mini lesson where I talk a little bit more deeply about this, and Josh is going to have to probably search on it because I don't remember the number offhand, unfortunately. But that is a great way of taking an existing shape and being really confident and comfortable in the shape and having the shape morph towards the chord. Like that same sound in minor. Right? okay? Or if you do a melodic minor, you can change that. Diminished, things like that. There's very cool ways of doing things to just take the existing information that you already know and really trying to gain as much information from that. I'm happy to elaborate more in a future one of these live videos about just that, because each one of these topics I'm talking about right now, the chordal approach stuff, took me about 8 months. And the stuff I just showed you, I still work on every day. And I still work on the chord approaches almost every day as well. It's not like you learn it and you just say, oh, well, I'm a master now, I can leave. I wish. So how do you suggest to musicians to find their next mentor after school? That is a great question, Alan. The great thing about what's happening, I mean, there's terrible things that are happening now, but a lot of really busy professional musicians who are some of my heroes are now offering Skype lessons. Guys like, for instance, I've always loved Alex Pope Norris's playing, and he's offering Skype lessons. So if you go onto his Facebook page, you can actually sign up and have Skype lessons with one of the world's finest jazz trumpet players. Same thing with one of my former teachers who is in the Boston Symphony, amazing trumpet player, Ben Wright. He's doing Instagram videos almost every day. It's so cool. So that's a really amazing thing, that there's so much knowledge being thrust upon us right now. Now, that's also a bad thing, because it's kind of like what's happened with recordings, where I remember when I taught college for 9 years, and I remember very, very distinctly when it started going from quantity over quality. Students would come in with little hard drives with 10,000 tunes on there. So if you tell Alex I sent you, he'll charge you double. No, please do tell him I sent you him. He also plays our mouthpieces, by the way. And I can't say that the mouthpieces make him sound as amazing as he does. He sounds amazing. But amazing trumpet player, great teacher, and really amazing improviser. So highly recommend having lessons with him. But back to this whole thing about music, they go, oh, I have 25,000 songs on my iPad. Okay, cool. How many of you truly listen to? Same with this little pattern. Like, you could spend, and you could take that through every single chord tone. Now remember, there's 12 keys. So you got to do, and you got to go through all the keys with it. Then you got to go through all the chord types. So Nicholas, that's a great question you ask about. I'm still struggling with the music theory aspect about modes and chords. Let's simplify this for you a little bit. Hey Mandy, how are you? Let's simplify it. The big chords that you need to really get comfortable with, and you should spend time practicing and learning how to navigate in and out. Let's talk about the big three. It's easy. It's major, minor, and dominant. So if you can't arpeggiate all 12 major chords, and like I just said before, if you can't go, it's funny because I always add approach notes to those, and it's weird to just do them by themselves, but, and you go through all of the keys, then you add the approaches, things like that. That was a double-double to the root of A flat major. You have to get the fluency to do that where you don't think about it. A lot of people say about my playing, and it's very kind, I'm still very much working on this, that I'm very fluent. And it's only because I've worked really hard on things like that. And Josh did post the link to the sound shapes exercise that I have on one of the mini lessons. This is a great reference for you to watch and just find those links after the video ends, because there's a bunch of information online, and I really want you to take the time and spend that time learning this way. But more questions about that, please let me know. But back to Nicholas, your thing. modes. Oh, okay, most of the modes can be made with the major scale and the ascending form of the melodic minor scale. I always wondered why melodic, I know why they do it, but melodic minor goes up and then it goes down a different scale. It's up in one scale and then down the natural minor scale. Melodic minor to me as an improvising musician is just flat 3. So like the 7th mode of melodic minor, if I was in C minor is just E flat. Right? If I take the 7th mode, that's the diminished whole. Oh, I love this one because it has like 7 billion ways of saying it. The altered scale, altered dominant, diminished whole tone because the first half is diminished, and the second half is whole tone. But the 7th mode of the ascending melodic minor scale is what I use on almost every dominant chord. So if I see B7, and it could be just plain Jane B7, it's something that I use. Now, that was a lot of information in a very, very short time frame. But remember, most of the modes that you're going to learn are from those 2 scales. Major scale, and even those, the big ones are obviously Ionian, Dorian, and Mixolydian. That's major, minor, and dominant 7th. And then the next one is the melodic minor scale, which you can really go to 3 or 4 in that regard. So you don't have to like dig it through every single mode. Also, don't make it a point not to try to learn every single mode in every single day and every single key. So here's what I like to do, 2 keys a day. So Monday it's C and D flat. Tuesday is D and E flats. Wednesday, E and F. Today is F sharp and G. So you're getting one of these, I don't like the word easy and hard because it's not true. You're getting one of these familiar sounds and one of these unfamiliar sounds. And then you're spending it like that. So you can really dial your practicing in very, very, very detailed. Hal Crook has an amazing book. It's called How to Practice. Jazz, or How to Practice Improvisation. I can't remember the full title. But he writes methods and ideas on how to take existing lines and shapes and sounds to do these things, which is absolutely fantastic. And the other thing that really helps me is to have a map of my practice time. Now, unfortunately, my practice journals are upstairs in my workstation because I was working on that with a customer. But I'll have to show you my practice journals in a future one of these mini lessons where I write down, this is what I'm practicing. Today I'm practicing F sharp, melodic minor, and I'm working on that. So yes, Josh knows probably way more about this than I do. Josh is a great improvising musician. So Mandy, let's see your question. Okay, I found it works great for me to use exercises with backing tracks. Do you ever do that? I play a lot of times with drones. Yeah, like even just a drone on, hold on. Hold please. Like even if I take the tonal energy tuner and just play, I'll hold with one hand, things like that. But I also use a great app, which I highly recommend in the state of quarantine, is the iRealBook app. So I can practice a song and work on, relating the sounds in my head to the song. And you can also write out single chords and loops and have exercises. Technology is ridiculously amazing because there's so much available to the consumer these days. Again, that's a little bit gets to the state of overwhelmed on this, but back to the 2 keys a day, really fantastic. And yes, do anything you need to do to stay motivated to practice. So if it's playing along with recordings, heck yeah. I like that. You were talking in my first person there, Josh. It's hard to get out of that. I love it. Alex, how are you, my friend? So, let me have a little tea here. Please keep asking these questions. And this is just the first session, hopefully of many. Maybe we'll even do a weekly hang like this. If you have suggestions for future mini lessons, just send them our way via email at info@austinCustomBrass.com, or even just send us a message on our shop Facebook page. So, there you go. Wait a second, all 7 keys? You ignore 5 keys. I like it. So I need to know that. So, anyways, drink your green tea. Keep your strength and your immunity levels up. Further on with that, like I said, we're just literally hitting the tip of the iceberg on all of these things, especially with my time with Charlie Benakis and Hal Crook. We've had an amazing amount of time with being able to just like immerse myself with these great teachers. I also studied with Kenny Warner and Jerry Bergonzi. Those were incredible improvisation teachers. Fred Haas up in New Hampshire, and Charlie Jennison. Lots of great musical minds. So please keep asking questions, and I'm happy to answer them. This is your time. It's not my time. And I also don't really want to talk, although I love my shop, I don't want to talk about my shop. We'll do a shop chat sometime in the near future. This is much more about the time that we have now and the additional practice time that we all have, and trying to be effective with that. Which brings me, hopefully this will work. I have another quick little video I prepared of a book I love for you guys to check out. So check this out. Hold on a second. One of the things that's really helped me a lot during this whole new experience for all of us is to have a game plan and a map of my daily time. Initially, probably during the first week or so of this new experience, I've really had a little bit of a struggle trying to figure out just how to plan my day, which took me back to a book that I read right after college when I was really trying to figure out the whole life of a freelance musician, booking lessons, going to gigs, trying to schedule practicing, and the like. So this book right here, which I absolutely love, there's probably a more modern version of this, a newer edition. This one's from the late 90s. It's called Time Management from the Inside Out by Julie Morgenstern. And there's tons of amazing tidbits and information in this video, in this book, including one of my favorite things, which is quite simply, a time map. So you can actually take a screenshot of this and print it out for yourselves, because then we're all on a new time schedule these days. I was thinking maybe it would be a great thing for you to have an idea, a map. Even if you don't follow the map exactly, it helps a ton to say, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out, or I'm going to do my warm-up, then I'm going to answer my work emails, especially people who are working from home, like my wife who's working upstairs. It's important to have the ability to do these things. So I highly recommend checking out this book. And in fact, I'll do a mini lesson later on digging deeper into this book, but I wanted to take a minute or two during this live stream to tell you about that. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them now. I'm just doing this video before we actually do the live stream, so you can post questions and I can read them. Thanks. So that's a little bit about a great book. I love that book. And I have rampant ADHD, just ask my wife and ask my employees. So I need it to be as structured as humanly possible. Nicholas, another great question you're asking. Thank you so much. My first gig, oh my gosh. My first gig actually was in high school. I think I was 14 or 15, and I played taps of all things. And one of those things about that is I remember I got paid $20. And I thought to myself, wow, geez, that's pretty good pay per note. If that was the case right now, I'd be a billionaire. But that's not the case. But I'm not a billionaire, but I do have probably the world's biggest trumpet mouthpiece. So how about that? So Warren, Peace, have you discussed in previous lessons how to connect your registers? There's definitely some, if you do the chordal approach, you will definitely work on connecting your registers. And I think I have talked about that as well in the previous mini lessons. Josh might, who's moderating this chat right now, might have to dig and find that about connecting registers. But Flexus, for instance, if you do any of the flexando exercises in the John McNeil and Laurie Frank book, Flexus, things like this. Hold on, I'm going to turn down my mic. Or backwards. Things like that. Hold on. Go back to having a little bit louder talking mic. That's a great way of connecting your registers. There's another exercise in Flexus that does like octave displacements. Sorry. Things like that, where you're skipping over octaves. I haven't practiced that in a long time, so that's why it sounds super rusty. I'm sorry. So the shog roll is actually not plated. It's actually zirconium. So no, it doesn't cause an allergy. Yeah, Laura, she also has another book. It's not time management, but it's organization from the inside out. And I really should read that book more because I'm just painfully disorganized. You don't want to look at the other side of my practice room here. But yeah, Warren, if you work on Flexus, that John McNeil book, especially in the flexando and the register displacement, it's such a good book. I remember having a lesson with Arturo maybe 25 years ago or something, and he would take something like Arban 125, which is the interval studies. I mean, I haven't played these in a long time, sorry. And he would keep going up to like double high C and further on, which is kind of crazy. And he just put his horn down and say, yeah, you should do it like that, which I was always amazed. I mean, because Arturo is like arguably the greatest trumpet player alive. So it's like, okay, well, I can't do that. Tell me how. But, and by the way, I don't know if you saw it, Arturo did offer a basic lesson on his page. So you might have to dig a little bit on his Facebook page, but he does have an extended lesson, which is great. Like I said, you guys are all at an advantage nowadays because all of us are trying to give things. Like I know on my friend Peter Pickett's page tomorrow, the great Rex Richardson, who's also one of the most amazing trumpet players in the world, he's doing a live session. So it's a great time to like take a practice break and watch this if you can. Take a break from work if you're telecommuting. Except for my guys at the shop, they have to keep working. I'm joking, sort of. But things like that, just to keep yourself motivated. It's hard because it's hard for all of us because we have no place to play. So it's really hard. So one of the things I'm trying to do now is work on this thing, which is the piccolo trumpet, and just like playing tunes. Things like that, having fun. So, and I agree with Josh. Bobby is a master, and yeah, there's a bunch of people offering online lessons. I, however, am not, and again, I don't want that to sound bad. The reason I am not is because I want you to support people that are desperate, who need that income right now. Now, we're desperate too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, our business has slowed to a crawl, but we'll keep chugging. I mean, it's our mission at ACB to keep chugging as much as possible. And a reminder, in case you missed the beginning of this session, is that the shop is still, everybody at the shop is telecommuting, so you can reach out to us all day, most days even Saturdays and Sundays, where we're working for you, and we want you to get through this as well. If you have questions about gear, if you want to try something cool and new, that's great. So, but yeah, the thing about having these goals, and like me with getting into my piccolo a little bit more, and I used to play a lot of Brandenburgs and Michael Haydns and things of that nature back in the maybe 20 years ago. But the thing about that is I need something to keep me motivated. And I hope that you keep motivated as well. And thanks, Josh, for posting that as well. Please, know that you're not alone. I mean, everybody's in this basically the same predicament that you are in, but we're all here together. And the greatest thing about especially the trumpet community is that it's full of love. Okay, who have I studied with? It's long and pretty elaborate, and I'm very fortunate. My first 2 trumpet teachers, besides my middle school band director, who's like my hero, Bruce Brown, kudos to Bruce, were at Maine Jazz Camp with Mandy here. And yes, okay, no, we're not really talking shop here, but Josh will give you a link, Brian. We are able to make mouthpieces, although there is a delay, just in every aspect of it. But I can code mouthpieces here. That's not a problem. It's just getting things made for me. It's going to be a little bit of a delay, but we might have some stuff in stock, actually. Kyle, I know, brought over 1,000 mouthpieces home with him. Who have I studied? My first big trumpet teachers were the Finley brothers, Bob and Chuck Finley. Not bad. Don Stratton at University of Maine Augusta was a huge influence on me. Bruce Brown in high school. Chuck Winfield, who also taught at University of Maine Augusta. He played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Then in college, lots of great influences. In college, Bob Stibler, of course, at UNH. Ed Carroll, huge influence to this day. Ed Carroll also runs the Chosen Vale Trumpet Seminar. And really, no, I don't think they're related to my brother Pete Carroll, who's here. Hey, buddy. Pew. So we'll have to invite you to our next social distancing parade. Ask Kyle about it. It was hilarious. We did a 3-person parade this weekend. We were about 10 feet apart from each other, just playing for my neighborhood. Then Ed Carroll, Mark Gould, Håkan, Tom Stevens, big influence. Jazz people, the biggest influences I had, Charlie Banakis by far. Hal Crook is right next to him. Kenny Werner. I had a few lessons with Bobby Shue. One of the things that when I was in college, especially when anyone would come close to the area where I was living, I would try to get a lesson with them. But and Clarke Terry, of course. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Alex, you can ask a question about the horns, but I'm going to actually talk shop in a future mini lesson. I want this just to be more of this is more of a mini lesson. So, Nicholas, Facebook, email, telephone, what's the worst thing you could call? I remember calling Freddie Hubbard up once. Actually, this is a funny story. I called Freddie Hubbard because I was playing Thermo. You know the song Thermo? That thing, which I still can't play. But I was having an issue with it. So I was struggling with it, hanging with Clarke, and he goes, hold on a second. Clarke, went over, and he reached into a bag, and he pulled out basically his Rolodex, which was pretty badass. This is way before Al Gore created the internet and cell phones. But, and he gave me Freddie's number. So I called Freddie. So I rang Freddie's number, and I'm on the phone. He picks up, hello. It's like, yes, Mr. Hubbard. And he said, who the is this? Now I blinked that out. So if there's ever going to be a Freddie Hubbard biopic, I think Samuel L. Jackson needs to play Freddie Hubbard. But so I reached out and, hey, Fernando, how are you, my friend? Cheers. Hope you all are well in Brazil. So I reached out to Freddie and I said, man, I'm playing thermo and I have a hard time playing. He goes, how the hell did you get my number? And I said, Clarke Terry gave me your number. And he goes, how can I help you? That's how hip Clarke and the power that Clarke had. So same, like I've had numerous experiences just because of Clarke. But then he showed me some on the phone. He gave me like a 5-minute lesson on how to play it. So how cool is that? And yeah, there's an alternate fingering lesson that Josh just put down. But yeah, Nicholas, you gotta, you better be a little bit financially solvent, because some of these elite teachers are not gonna be charging you low money. I remember paying lots of money to lots of people, but I'm very, very thankful for that, because of the life experiences and the performing experiences, and then just the growth I have had as a musician. So, but anyways, I digress. Facebook, internet, telephone. Get off your butt and reach out to these people. Take initiative. You don't expect the world to open up for you. You need to open it yourself and figure out a pathway. Sorry, I get a little preachy there, but that's really the case here. So I'm going to have another sip of tea. Please keep asking questions. But, oh, Adam's family brother. How are you, man? Hope you are staying safe. Thermo is a beast, but it's so much fun. I wonder if I can play that on piccolo trumpet. Hold on. I'll have to work on that a little bit. So, but that's fun. And then you got to learn the Freddie Hubbard solo. Hopefully you all know the Freddie Hubbard solo. Decade or two, but yeah. And I said this I had a chat yesterday with a college trumpet studio, and I said basically in terms of my improvisational language, a lot of what I talk about is available via transcription. So you got to do the work and you got to get deep in the shed, but yeah, everything there is there. But anywho, please keep asking questions. I'll go back to my tea. So, and thank you all for stopping in and saying hi. Again, thank you for your amazing support of the shop. We are still hanging on. So, and that's what we're gonna keep hanging on as long as we possibly can. Reach out to us if you have questions about how we're hanging on in terms of like what we can get out to you and what not. So, but cheers, have some tea. And it is tea, don't worry. These Yeti mugs are crazy. That keeps it hot. I poured this like 3 hours ago, but pretty crazy. So there you go. Yeah, and there's a big band version with Freddie and thermo. My favorite Freddie thermo is like 1986. There's an audio of it with him and Kenny Garrett, and he's just going like just bonkers. But the Freddie solo that I was playing was off the Body and Soul album, and Clarke is actually playing first trumpet on that, by the way. That's pretty cool. Showed up late for the session. Wow, great question. So, when you were a student, what was your benchmark or way to measure if you practice was of value? It's a lot easier, honestly, nowadays with things like this than it was back then. And I got to be honest, I never really practiced when I was in college, but I played a literal crap ton. I probably played at least 10 to 12 hours every day. The horn was always on my face. So just by the sheer amount of time that I got a little bit better on the instrument. But pardon me. Nowadays, what I try to do is I record myself every day like I'm doing right now, and that is a barometer of how I play. The reason I do that, and I do it more often, you don't see hardly any of them, but I record myself on the phone. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I record myself on the phone, and by doing that, I can see how I'm playing. I can mark tempos. I can see actual tangible growth. in my playing. Otherwise, you're just going to tread water and you're going to probably go backwards in your playing, especially with the limited playing opportunities that we now currently have. However, in that opportunity of less playing opportunities has more opportunities for you to really develop your own personal nature and sound and style on the instrument, which and endurance and things like that. So, but there you go. But yeah, I don't know if that answered. But yeah, having pretty preset goals, like Brandenburg, for instance. Like I always wanted to play Brandenburg, but it was only the case where I was teaching at a university, and the classical teacher at the university just literally balked on. She was like, I'm not going to play that. And she's an incredible player. She plays in the orchestra in that area. Really fantastic trumpet player, but it wasn't in her wheelhouse. And I was like, I could probably play it. I mean, and I was just like, because I'm kind of a meat puppet, I said, yeah, I could probably do that. And one of the things that I did is I slowly built my way up from playing, you know, and then going to C trumpet here. Let me pull the slide out a little bit here. And working on C trumpet, then going to E flat trumpet, and then going, eventually when I got to the piccolo, because of the nature of the piccolo, I was like, oh, that's a lot easier than I thought. So, you know, you can actually be very detailed and be very pragmatic about how you approach things. Now, if you have problems playing in the upper register, you can't just pick up a piccolo and expect to play Brandenburg. You've got to work. It's the same with an earlier question we had when I was talking about all the approaches. You can't just expect that you're going to have language and language skills if you don't work on basic vocabulary. You're not going to be able to pick up a piccolo and play Michael Haydn unless you have an idea on how to conceptualize the upper register. So, and do it. So, and experience, thoughts on anchor tonguing, whatever works. How's that? You know, if you can play, you know, the Soldier's Tale and you anchor tongue, great. And I'm serious about that. It's like, I think I probably do anchor tongue when I'm in the upper register. But you know, I got to be 100% honest here. I don't really care. If I get the result, that's all that I care about. You know, if it looks right, it's right. If it feels right, it's right. If it sounds right, it's right. Why do we have to overcomplicate things? So, what's the last tune or solo you transcribed? Last tune I transcribed was this, and I literally learned it a couple days ago. It's a tune called Humpty Dumpty. Let's see if I can play it, because it's actually not the best trumpet thing. And I love that line because it's actually not really a trumpet thing. But yeah, that's the last thing I transcribed, and I've always loved that song. I've always loved that song, and I've listened to a lot of different versions of it. But I was watching a video of Chick play, and I was like, wow, he sounds so cool. I want to play that song, and so I just grabbed my horn and I started learning the song with them. And you know, there's features on YouTube where you can slow down the recording, so it's like if you need to, you can do that too. But I usually transcribe in real time, just to give you a heads up. But yeah, that's the last thing I transcribed, which was, I think, Saturday or Sunday of this week. And I'm going to probably start transcribing another thing later on this week. So yeah, but good question. Hi Karsten, how are you, man? Hope all is well. And Doug, sorry I missed your chat this morning. I was preparing this whole session. But best and worst moments on stage. There is best moment. I don't know if I have a best. I can tell you one of the most memorable concerts I had when they dedicated the World War II Memorial in DC. I got to play Stardust, and I think it was in front of, like, on national television in front of like 500,000 people. So that was pretty cool. Worst moment on stage? I don't know. Maybe when I was a young kid and it was like the first solo I ever learned was Axel F theme from Beverly Hills Cop, and I lost the music. It fell into a crevice in our house, and it fell down. I couldn't pick it up, and my middle school director wrote it out. So I couldn't ask him to write it out again. So I tried to play it from memory, and I failed miserably. That's why I try to memorize every piece of music now, because of that experience. And that was in 4th or 5th grade. So yeah, I guess that was on stage. I do remember my mom doing this and cringing a little bit. But but that's one of the things that people like say about the live noodle sessions that I have here at either here or on YouTube, is the fact that I know tunes, and it's been a process of committing yourself to that process of learning a tune. Like, so by not looking at a lead sheet and learning Humpty Dumpty, like it might have been the easy thing to pull out a real book and learn Humpty Dumpty. The thing about what I just told you is I learned it via recording, and it's a little bit more challenging to start, but honestly, I gotta be honest with you, I think it's a lot easier once you do it, a few thousand times. Is the fact that I can play that song now. Like I don't have to think about it. I mean, I can play it. I mean, maybe I can't play it trumpet-wise because there's that one line, which I love. That would be a good one for alternate fingerings. And it's like, yeah, it's a fun song to play. But and I've got to have that fun and motivation in my practicing as well. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's just a personal observation in my own playing. More questions, comments. Yeah, but I have a hard time doing that. Yeah, okay. Again, you don't remember how you learned how to talk, but you talk. So you have to, take it from a very basic thing. Don't try to learn Brandenburg tomorrow if you can't play piccolo trumpet at all. Play it down an octave for 6 months and then transpose it up a step, You don't have to play everything in the same key. Well, I can't transpose. Yes, you can. Of course you can. Maybe you just don't have enough experience doing it. Well, I'm scared to do it. We don't have time to be scared. Kenny Werner's book, Effortless Mastery, talks about fear-based practicing. You should read it if you ever have that. It's a fantastic text on the whole aspect of being, quote-unquote, afraid. So we're trumpet players. We can't be afraid, right? So again, thanks so much for watching this video. Thank you for your continued support of our shop. It's vitally important, more than ever now, that you keep in touch with us, call us, email us, hang with us. If you have gear questions, that will be for another mini lesson. Maybe we'll do it early part of next week, where we could talk shop. But in the meantime, I'm going to get back to work. I really appreciate you spending the time here. I hope you have a chance to pay it forward too, and maybe play for your neighbors and share some. So why not? Piccolo trumpet and jazz. Listen to the Peter Evans clip. And favorite non-trumpeter transcribe. Bennett, you're the man. Kurt Rosenwinkel. That's an easy answer. So if I get more questions like this, I'll stay. I mean, of course. I just don't want to, free form. But if you have more questions like this would be fantastic. So, the thing about it is, like, we want to give back like everybody else does in this time. So we're always here for you. Call us, email us, reach out to us. Have an awesome day. And in the meantime, go play your long tones. Go practice your approaches. Review some of the stuff that we talked about in this session. Thank you, Josh, for your help. And I'm going to go shed. Take care. Ciao, ciao.